Hi, I am getting ready to do a stapedectomy surgery the day after tomorrow because I have otosclerosis, and there's not a lot of videos out there that talk about otosclerosis. There are some things, some threads on Reddit and on Quora, but I was looking for videos and just didn't find very many of them. So I thought I would go ahead and make a video, a series of videos, and that way you can see my preparation and what otosclerosis and a stapedectomy is all about. And I will make some others as I'm in recovery and how I'm feeling. And hopefully that will help you if you also have the same thing and are considering getting a stapedectomy. So, otosclerosis is a conductive hearing loss. It is has to do with an overgrowth in the ear. My right ear is the only one that is affected right now. About 3 million Americans have otosclerosis, so it's considered uncommon, although in my mind, 3 million people sounds like a lot, but regardless. Um, it is something that they think maybe has a genetic background to it. They don't really know what the cause of it is, but they think there's a genetic component to it. And my father actually had otosclerosis. They also think that well, they know that it affects women more than men, and it affects um, white European people or descendants, a little bit more also people from India, that demographic group, more than everyone else, although everyone can be affected. And as I said, my father had it, but it is actually twice as more likely to be in females than it is in males. So there you go. Oh, and there is a suspicion that measles virus plays a role. They said that they have found the measles RNA in quite a lot of the bone pathology that they take out during the surgery. I myself have not ever had measles. I was vaccinated for it back a million years ago when I was a kid, so I don't know. The other thing they talk about, particularly for women, is they think that maybe hormones play a role of making the disease more noticeable and causing more hearing loss, if that makes sense. They say that even though a lot of people who have otosclerosis, you don't realize in a lot of cases that you do have it. And a lot of people who have it will not ever have the hearing loss. I think unless something triggers it. So for women, because pregnancy hormones, because of that, sometimes they find that they notice their otosclerosis or it progresses more or faster after pregnancies. In my case, I think maybe going through menopause had something to do with triggering it. They don't really know, but regardless, here we are. And so, what otosclerosis is a bony overgrowth. When you hear, you have tiny little bones in your ear, and they vibrate and transmit the sound through your ear. In otosclerosis, you have that bony overgrowth, so that sits up against the stapes bone, which is the one, if you remember from school and learning about the body and whatever, the stapes bone is the one that looks like a stirrup. Anyway, the overgrowth of bone keeps that stapes bone from moving so it doesn't transmit the vibration. So when you have otosclerosis, there you can just do nothing if you want. You may find that you have progressive hearing loss, although the things that I'm reading say it is very uncommon or very rare for you to go totally deaf in the ear that has it. Um, you still have progressive hearing loss in a lot of cases. So in my case, I have a diagnosed moderate to severe hearing loss. I know other people have a profound loss. Um, So for me, I noticed it. I broke my shoulder several years ago, and my left shoulder, and my otosclerosis is in my right ear. About 70% of people who have it actually have it in both ears. My doctor tells me that I only have it in the one ear. So, yay for me. I don't know. We'll see. But at any rate, so hopefully that's the case. It just only affects this one. But when I was recovering from my broken shoulder, I was lying on the couch doing my physical therapy exercises. And when I had my good ear covered while I was watching the television and doing the exercises, with the good ear covered, all of a sudden I realized I could see people talking on the television, but I couldn't hear them. I couldn't understand what they were saying with just my right ear exposed. It is weird. It never really occurred to me. I think your ears just do such a good job. This one has done a great job of compensating for the loss that I have in this one because he said this one is great. I have just a little age related hearing decline that would be expected. I'm in my 60s. But with this one, again, it was a much more noticeable hearing loss at that point. So when I realized it, things started falling into place back in 2011 or 12. So you're talking now maybe like 8 or 9 years before I or realized that I had this loss. Um, I started having this feeling in my ear. I thought I got water in my ear, and it just felt full, and my ear would pop and click. And so I thought, oh, I must have gotten water in my ear from taking a shower or washing my hair. So actually, in the very beginning, I could kind of, do this kind of a thing, and it would cause the ear to pop, and then I could hear again, and it was fine. But as the year progressed, it just kept feeling more and more full in my ear. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get my ear to pop. Like if you go in an airplane and you feel that pressure and that pop, it just wouldn't pop like that anymore. So I went to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. I honestly didn't think it had anything to do with otosclerosis, so I don't think that I said anything about my father's diagnosis at that time. But I wanted to find out what was wrong. So I had him check my ear. He didn't see anything wrong. He thought maybe there was water behind the eardrum that he just couldn't see, and it was maybe like a low level of infection or inflammation. So he did do, I think it's called a myringotomy, if I'm saying it right. He put a little incision into the eardrum that, like they do when they put tubes in a child's ear. And so he did that, and the idea was that it would open up the eardrum and allow air to get in there. If there was any infection, it would help to heal it. Okay, so we went through that, and I never really noticed that there was any difference. It still had that full feeling and the water in the ear. So I continued on, and it just never got any better. And then I started developing tinnitus or tinnitus, that ringing in your ears. And so again, went back to him, still didn't see an infection. And kind of the thing was, oh, well, we don't really know what it is. Live with it. I didn't get a hearing test, it was never suggested. So, anyway, fast forward to now when I broke my shoulder and I realized suddenly that I had this, to me, huge hearing loss. I went to a different ear, nose, and throat doctor because I figured if the first one couldn't figure it out, what was the point? So I went to a different one. So here's where I'm going to tell you that you need to be cautious if you're somebody with otosclerosis. Don't go to just any ear, nose, and throat doctor. You really need to go to somebody who specializes in it. The surgeon who's going to do my surgery the day after tomorrow is a neurotologist. And so he specializes in this and he knows what he's talking about. I say that because ear, nose, and throat doctor number 2, I went to him specifically for this reason and the fact I couldn't hear. He had me do a hearing test and went, yep, you can't, you have a hearing loss on that side. He scoped, he numbed my throat and did a little scope and went through the nose with a little camera and looked around and everything and said, yeah, everything looks fine in there. And by the way, you look to me like you have a sleep disorder just looking at your anatomy and all of that. So he totally and completely ignored the hearing loss and the otosclerosis and wanted me to do a sleep test to find out whether I had sleep apnea. So that really made me mad because if I come to you because I have this problem, fix this problem, don't start on another problem. But anyway, so because of that, I just said, all right, that's it. I'm done. I've been compensating. I'll have to figure out what to do, whatever. And I just kind of gave up on it at that point. So now we come to COVID. And I, at that point, was a dental hygienist working in an office. And I did not realize until everybody was wearing masks with COVID, did not realize the extent of how I had been compensating for, because I couldn't hear. I all of a sudden realized when I couldn't see people's mouths anymore that I had the hardest time trying to figure out what people were saying. In a dental office, you have a lot of equipment running all the time and things in the background. I could see people's lips moving if they pulled their mask down, but I had the hardest time discerning what they were saying over the background noise. I guess I was doing my version of lip reading because, again, not being able to see their mouth move, it was really, really hard for me um, to hear or to understand what people were saying. And I also do a lot, this is my good ear, so I do a lot of walking with people or talking to them and I lean forward and I've got this ear, forward so I can hear better. And I noticed too, I was always trying to place myself on the right side of a conversation because I could hear better with the left ear. And so, if I was on the right side, then you were on the left and then I could hear you better. Anyway, because of COVID, that made me go to ear, nose, and throat doctor number 3. So this time I thought, I am not going to just a plain old run of the mill ENT. I am going to a specialist. So I chose a surgeon. I lived in Atlanta at the time. I chose an ear, nose, and throat surgeon who was in the Atlanta area affiliated with Emory Healthcare System. And Emory Hospital is a big preeminent hospital in the area. I mean, so I figured she was going to be the one. She was going to help with this. So I went in, had another hearing test, and this time she did a conductive hearing test. And so what they do one of the ways to diagnose otosclerosis over other things, other ear conditions, is they will do a tuning fork. They ring the tuning fork and then they hold it behind the opposite ear, behind the good ear, and they see which ear you can hear the sound out of. It was the weirdest thing, but having that back here on my left side, which was my good side, I could not hear it at all in my left ear, but I could hear it ringing like crazy in my right ear. To her, without doing any other x-rays or anything, that confirmed otosclerosis. So she said, yep, that's what it is. Let's go ahead and schedule you for surgery. We have to have it pre-authorized, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So 6 weeks go by. I don't hear anything from the insurance company. Where's the pre-authorization? I call them. There's no pre-authorization that's been sent in. Okay. So I called the office of this surgeon. Well, I was there and we talked about this, and the pre-authorization's never been sent in. Oh, the assistant says, oh my goodness, I can't believe that we didn't send that in. How did we miss that? I'm going to go ahead as soon as I hang up. I'm going to send in your authorization. Okay. I had military insurance at the time because my husband is retired from the Air Force. Like other government insurances, I guess they don't pay so great. So I'm going to just say that was the reason, but they never sent it in the second time either. So another 6 weeks go by. Insurance companies never received it. And I thought, you know what? Pardon me, screw this. I am not apparently supposed to get this surgery done. So I am done. I will compensate. So what I did is I went and got it's not really a hearing aid, but like an over the counter amplifier that looks like a hearing aid. I went ahead and I got that. And I wore that and have used that for quite a while. And while it works okay and it helps me, um, you always have to keep up with batteries and you have to make sure, you have the hearing aid. You got to take it out, you got to clean it, taking all of this stuff with you if you go somewhere. You can't go swimming with it in or anything like that. And so now we are 5 years past COVID, and I'm just kind of to the point where I'm like, all right, this is working for me, but I'd really like to do the stapedectomy surgery. So that is what I'm going to do. I have now moved from Atlanta to closer to Tampa in Florida. So I am seeing Dr. Lauren Bartels at Tampa Bay Hearing and Balance, and he's actually a specialist in this. He's written a million papers on it. He's done like 2,000 stapedectomy surgeries. He has invented his own prosthesis that will be placed in my ear for the surgery. So I'm highly confident in him. They actually did send in the pre-authorization, so I know that I have insurance coverage for this, because if you don't have the coverage, I know it could be an expensive surgery. And that is a problem for some people who are younger, because a lot of younger people do get diagnosed with this. And then in a lot of cases, it's considered not trying to think of the word. It's just a lot of insurances will not cover it because you can fix it with a hearing aid, and so they don't want to cover that expensive surgery. So anyway, in my case, I am very blessed and lucky that the surgery is being covered. So now that you have spent 20 minutes listening to me and my background, I am going to show you a couple of the things that I have to do to prep for this surgery, and then after that, it will be all about the recovery. So anyway, thank you for listening so far. So the first thing that I did, I got myself a wedge pillow. Here we are, wedge pillow, because one of the things with recovery is that you cannot lay on your operated ear for at least 2 weeks, but I'm going to not lay on it for the 6 weeks that they typically talk about as being more of your recovery period. Um, for the first 2 weeks, you can't do things like you can't get any water in your ear. So I bought little plastic ear covers. You have to be very careful about, you can't like squat down. Well, you can squat, but you have to be careful with it. You can't bend over. You can't lift anything. So, like if you're a young parent, you can't lift your child. You can't lift anything over 30 pounds for at least like 6 to 8 weeks, if not longer. I think that's really more like a 3 to 6 month recovery part. Um, so, like if you have pets, the doctor told me I can't bend over to fill their water bowl or whatever. I have to make a point of squatting down. You can't, you know, jog. You can't do a lot of things. So, if you're considering the surgery, just consider that that may be something that will keep you from doing it. Anyway, I have, no joke, a whole ton of medications that they have given me in order to have the surgery. Um, I also am going to have to wear a seasickness patch behind the good ear. So that's a good thing, because otosclerosis surgery, the stapedectomy, can cause temporary vertigo and dizziness, and there's nausea medication in there. Um, in a certain percentage of people, from what I read, it's not many, but like 1 to 2%, you can have a failure of the surgery. And because they destroy the stapes bone with a laser in order to put the prosthetic in, could result in total loss of hearing in the ear that's being operated on. That's the reason they do the surgery on the worst ear first, if you're one of the 70% of people who has it in both ears. Um, Another thing that I'm going to have to do is wash my hair with this lovely chlorhexidine rinse. I'll have to do that a couple of times before surgery, as well as shower with that because it helps to kill the germs, the bacteria on your body. So anyway, this is kind of a broad overview. I am going to make a separate video of the different things that I am using to prepare. And then, um, anyway, so hopefully this helps. And I guess I will stop for now. And thanks for listening. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.